Welcome to the story of Elijah and the widow. This story is from 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 8 through 16. The lesson focus for first and second grade is, we can feed others. The prophet Elijah, who preached to King Ahab, is introduced in chapter 17 of 1 Kings. Many times in these stories of kings and prophets, Israel's God is pitted against Baal, the Canaanites' fertility god. God's provision, faithfulness, and power are emphasized throughout such stories. Zarephath was a commercial capital and port city on the Phoenician coast. In this story, the entire area was experiencing a severe drought, and the people were calling on their gods of life and rain. When God sent Elijah to Zarephath, Elijah was told there was a widow there who would feed him. Elijah arrived hungry and thirsty. He asked the woman for some water, which she gave him. He then asked her for bread. She protested that she had only a handful of meal and a little oil, her last meal with her son before they would starve. Elijah promises her that if she makes him a cake with these last provisions, his God, the God of Israel, will not let her or her son starve. And it was so. She made the cake, and the jar of meal and the jug of oil never emptied. God picked an outsider, a Phoenician, a destitute widow who worshipped Baal, to feed Elijah when he came to Zarephath. She, in turn, became part of the story of God's amazing care for all people. God's love goes beyond all of the boundaries we create for ourselves. God loves and works with all types of people. God feeds us, and when we listen to God, we learn that we can feed others. Many call this story a miracle, but it is not a strange, supernatural kind of miracle. It is a miraculous partnership. People are fed when there is no food. This happens because God puts two unlikely people together and makes it work. God chooses the unchosen, and amazing things happen. When we listen to and trust God, God uses us to do amazing things too, often in partnership with people we would never imagine. The story of Elijah and the widow empowers kids by letting them know that we can feed others. Kids this age love to help others, especially if adults model that helping can be fun. Try introducing a service project into your class. Ideas could include making cards for homebound members or collecting food for a food pantry. Invite parents and other family members to get in on the action too. When working with this age group, remember that play is still an important part of their faith journey. Don't underestimate the impact of a good game to go with a Bible story. During gather time, kids usually do a welcome cheer where they all say their names. This week, do something a little bit different. Rather than saying their own names, ask kids to call out the names of people for whom they'd like to pray. Then, at the end of the cheer, kids can shout, "Bless them, God!" To add some fun to the Bread for Everyone leaflet activity, divide the kids into two groups. One group can read the response words. The other group can add actions to the story as you read. One kid could take the part of Elijah, another the widow, another the oil, another the town, and so on. So, for example, whenever you say Elijah, that kid stands up and calls out Elijah. When you come to the part about the oil, that kid could stand up and call out the oil. When studying food banks in the leaflet, take things one step further. Whether you have a food bank in your church or a food collection basket, take kids on a short field trip to visit it. Show kids the kinds of items that are donated to help the hungry, and encourage kids to toss in a can of their favorite fruit or vegetables the next time they're in church. By the end of this lesson, you'll have brainstormed many ways that you and your kids can feed others.